So I've lived in Sarasota, Florida for 2 years now, so I think it's time that we do a 2-year review of what it's like living in Sarasota. There's been a lot of changes that have happened in the past 2 years, and some of the changes you may be surprised about, so I definitely would watch this video if you are looking to move out of state to Sarasota and see if you're okay with these changes, right? So in this video, we are going to be talking about number one, reasons why I moved to Sarasota. There are some obvious reasons, obviously coming from the Midwest. But let's talk about some more of the deeper reasons. Number two, let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of living in Sarasota based on my opinions of living here and talking with residents. And then finally, we are going to be talking about what was Sarasota like when I first came here versus what is Sarasota like now, and with some of the changes, is there some changes that a lot of people aren't going to like, or maybe you're going to like these changes that have happened to Sarasota. But before we jump into talking all about, Sarasota, my 2-year review and everything like that, my name is Noah Ward. I am a real estate agent here in Sarasota, Florida. I have a whole entire team that's wrapped around helping you guys move from out of state to move here into the Sarasota area. What I've done is, coming from a person that is not native to Florida, I had a lot of questions about moving to Sarasota myself. So what I've done is create a buyer's relocation guide right here. Link is down in the description down below, so you guys can really understand, what are some top attractions in Sarasota, where are the best places to eat, seafood restaurants, breakfast restaurants, brunch, lunch, quick and fast places to eat, and everything like that. Talking about, school systems, what are the school systems like here, talking about healthcare, much more. Basically everything you need to know before you make the move to Sarasota. So if you want that guide, remember, it's just down in the description down below, 100% free for you fellow relocation people as well. So with all that being said, let's start diving into why did I move to Sarasota, Florida. So there's 3 major reasons why I moved to Florida. I went more in depth right here in this video. You guys can go check that out if you want to know, my more in-depth reasons. But there's 3 major reasons. One, the weather. Obviously, the weather's amazing here in Florida. I love it. Some people don't like it in the summer months just because it's hot for them. But coming from the Midwest and hating the winters, I absolutely love it here. And I would take Florida weather over Wisconsin weather any day. Although Wisconsin weather in the fall is very hard to beat. I really love it, changing colors and everything like that. That's the one thing I do miss about Wisconsin. And then the second reason was the active lifestyle you can live here in Sarasota, whether that be boating, fishing. I do a lot of fishing. You can do inshore fishing, charter fishing, everything like that. There's a lot of great opportunities for there. If you like to bike, we have the Legacy Trail, 13 plus miles of paved trailway, basically, that goes from Venice to connects nearly up to Bradenton. Now they're extending it down to Northport with a connector trail, so that's awesome as well. It's a great biking trail. And there's just basically a lot of activities, whether you're looking to go golfing. We have a lot of golf courses, kayaking, paddleboarding in the mangrove, stuff like that. There's just so many active opportunities you can do outside and in the outdoor lifestyle. And the third reason is basically a lot of things that people don't talk about is the opportunities. So like I talked about in that other video, was that Sarasota is a very affluent area. You meet a lot of people that come from all across the country, whether that be they'd be on the New York Stock Exchange, ex-CEOs of companies, high-level business owners, and all those kind of people that move from different parts of the country. You really get to talk to them, pick their brain, and stuff like that, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me, and I'm very thankful for it. And that wasn't one of the main reasons why I moved down to Florida, but it's probably one of the top reasons now why I should move down to Florida, basically, if I was telling myself a couple years ago, right? So those are kind of the main reasons why I decided to move to Florida. And then let's talk about what is Florida like now versus what it was like when I first moved here. So I've been vacationing into Sarasota for a few years before I moved here initially, and there has been a lot of changes, and the main changes are in the real estate development and a lot of people moving here. So what I've seen when I first moved here 2 years ago, the traffic wasn't bad. Occasionally during the season, in season times, yeah, you will get the traffic jams and stuff like that. You'll get that in any mid-sized city, I would say. But what I think the biggest change has been is the development side. So there's been a lot of new construction development in Sarasota. A lot of Sarasota is being fully built out now, to where they're extending east of 75 right now. They're building large developments, 1,000+ house developments, and I don't know how to feel about it. To be honest with you, I just don't know how to feel about it. There's a lot of changes happening in the development world in terms of, large tract home builders, Neil, Taylor Morrison, MI Houses. They're just really building up a lot of developments, and a lot of farmland is being destroyed in the process, but it could be good on the other side. It could be creating a lot of opportunities, jobs, and stuff like that. But that's probably one of the biggest changes is a lot of houses are being built, which is also causing quite a bit more traffic compared to a couple years ago. So it's a catch-22. I really like the area, but I don't like the traffic, especially in season. You just have to know when are the best times to leave your house and when are the best times really to stay home. And I know some people can't help that, but if you can, that's probably ideal, especially when it's in season. It just gets really busy. But yeah, so I think traffic and the houses are the biggest changes to the Sarasota area. And then also 3, the workers. The average lifestyle, the income you need to make has increased over the past couple years here in Sarasota. So it's pushed out some people in the Sarasota area. So worker quality and stuff like that, it's hard to get workers, but I know getting workers all across the country are very hard right now. And, it's just, we see that here in Sarasota as well. So you see restaurants that are closed a little bit sooner. Maybe they're not open as many days because of worker shortage. I'm sure they're going to get it fixed. And I know a lot of people are dealing with that all across the country. But that's another change that I've seen, probably also due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever your thoughts are on that, whatever your beliefs are, that does have a contributing factor in my opinion on that. But yeah, those are some of the biggest changes that, I would really consider, as well as the house prices have changed. I mean, in the past year, house prices have increased about 30% in Sarasota County alone for house appreciation. Now, do I see that increasing 30% every year? No, by all means not. No, it's not going to happen. But Sarasota has been appreciating since 2012, the recovery that we had from the '08 crash. It's been appreciating 9.9% every single year on average, I would say. Some years it's 12%, other years it's 7%, right? So it's averaging about 9.9% every single year. So I eventually see us going back down to that 10 to 15% appreciation over the over the next 10, and I should say over the next year or so. We'll start seeing that transition down. So it's going to be good in that respect, but just in the past couple years, prices have just skyrocketed. So it's weeded out a lot of people and made a lot of people move out of the area as well. So now that we have discussed some of the reasons why I decided to move from the Midwest to Sarasota, and also discussed some of the changes that have happened over the past couple years, let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of living in Sarasota. So let's start out with the advantages. We're going to talk about the top 3 advantages, even though there's a lot more of them. We'll just stick with 3. The first one is kind of obvious, and that is going to be the amazing beaches that we have here in Sarasota. And I'm not exaggerating when I do say that, because we have some world-class beaches here in Sarasota. We have Siesta Key Beach, we have Lido Beach, we have beaches on Longboat Key. We have just so many amazing beaches that are this white, sugary sand with this blue water that really no area can really compete with, because the east coast of Florida doesn't have that nice of beaches. And then, south of us into like Cape Coral and stuff like that, their beaches are, okay, but they're not the best, right? Panhandle has very nice waters, but you are up in the Panhandle. So if you want the best beaches, in my opinion, it is Southwest Florida, around that Sarasota area. And that's kind of also what drew me here, was the beaches, vacationing here, and just seeing the lifestyle, right? So beaches are number 1. The second amazing advantage of living in Sarasota, and I tell this to a lot of people, is the amenities we have here in Sarasota. And what I mean by that is there's I call Sarasota, it feels like a small town, but it has big city amenities. And what I mean by that is, you're not living in this huge metropolitan city that has, 150,000 plus residents that are all crammed in here into apartments, high rises, condos, and everything like that, right? You're still spread out in Sarasota, even though it is a growing area. It still feels small. I would say mid-size, but it feels small. But you still have these other amazing amenities that a big city would have, such as all these fantastic restaurants, some of these, outdoor lifestyle activities, coffee shops, all this. You have a variety of things to choose from, right? You have, it's not just one thing here, one thing there. Oh, here's this corner street, here's this corner, restaurant, whatever that is. We have everything, right? It's spread all along Sarasota. So I think there's a lot of great amenities, especially the mall that we have here, University Town Center Mall. UTC Mall, it's a 2-story mall, has amazing shops and everything. It's very well maintained. The UTC area in general is very well maintained. Lots of shopping there. You have big box retailers as well nearby, and you also have some great restaurants too. And if you guys don't know, Popstroke just came in, which is just like an extreme putting putting green basically, or extreme putting, mini putt. But yeah, that's also a great area. I really like Pop Stroke because it's a very fun, entertaining area. There's a lot of people. It stays open to like midnight, I would say. I think it stays open till like 11 p.m. So you can go at night, they have lights surrounding it. So it's a very fun experience, and it's kind of an extreme mini golf, right? So it's definitely a cool area to check out. And then the final advantage, in my opinion, of Sarasota is the restaurants. So this is all perspective from where you come from, right? And just depends on the exact restaurant you go to, because there are a lot of amazing restaurants in Sarasota, and there's a lot of bad restaurants in Sarasota, and I don't like to say that lightly, but it is the truth. There are a lot of restaurants flooding the area, but there are a select few that are really good. So for example, like pizza places, I really love going to Napoli Pizza. It's on US 41. It's probably the most authentic Italian place you will ever go to in Sarasota. I've had people come directly from Italy, come back from Italy, and they're like, this tastes exactly like what I just had in Italy. Like seriously, no joke. The chef himself comes from Italy, so he makes amazing wood-fired pizzas, makes amazing salads, makes amazing seafood, all this kind of stuff. Everything that you could think of Italian, he definitely makes it, and he does an amazing job. Highly recommend that place. We have fantastic sushi, of course, just because we're on the coast. My favorite spot here on Siesta Key is going to be on Siesta Key, and that's Star Thai and Sushi. They have amazing sushi. I think it's one of the best in the area. But like I said, Sarasota is one big melting pot. You can get whatever you want. You can get Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese. You can get Italian. You can get high sophisticated restaurants, steakhouses. We have Connor's Steakhouse. And then there's just so many different places you can check out, and I think it's just an endless amount of opportunity here. If you're a big foodie, you will love Sarasota. Yes, there are some bad restaurants, not, mediocre restaurants, mainly tourist traps and stuff like that. But there are a lot of hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about, and so I think that's another great advantage of Sarasota. So now that we have talked about the amazing advantages of living in Sarasota, let's talk about some of the disadvantages of living in Sarasota. Similar to the advantages, we're just going to share the top 3 disadvantages, in my personal opinion, of living in Sarasota that you should probably know, because it could be a deal breaker for you. So the first disadvantage is, this is all across the board for most of the areas in Florida, and that is going to be Sarasota does have an older demographic population, right? And you can look it up for the demographic stats and everything like that, but there is a lot of families moving into the Sarasota area and everything like that. Our school systems are expanding to, upgrade to the influx of people that are moving here. So that does show us a little bit of sign of progress on that side of stuff. But historically and, right now, we do have a little bit older of a demographic. So that's one thing to keep in mind about the Sarasota area. But for me, I'm just fine. I think that the pros far outweigh that, at least for me, in my personal opinion. And then the second thing is going to be the traffic. So the traffic in here in Sarasota, it's not my most favorite thing, and I know I've talked about this in other videos as well, is the traffic is just, it's increased in the past couple years, right? And so with all this development that's happening in Sarasota, all these houses being built, thousands of houses being built, is it really, they're not really upgrading the infrastructure in terms of the roadways here in Sarasota. And I think that's one thing that Sarasota County is lacking is, building up the infrastructure to accommodate how many people that are moving to the area, right? So I've seen traffic increase over the past couple years in Sarasota, mainly during in-season and stuff like that. But for the most part, if you are able to handle and kind of maintain which times you go throughout the day, like for example, during school season, don't want to travel at like 8:30 to 9 o'clock in your school zones, because that's kind of a busy time to go. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, traffic overall, I would say, it's a touristy area. So you're going to get that all along Florida, right? I've been talking with people, it's coming all across Florida. So it's not just Sarasota specifically, it's all across, the South Coast or the Southwest coast of Florida, the West Coast and even the East Coast of Florida. So, traffic is just going to, in my prediction, get a little bit worse, but for the most part, it's still less than a lot of different areas like New York, California, and stuff like that. It's all personal perspective, right? Because I've heard people say, oh, this traffic is a breeze compared to where they've come from. They've come from Toronto, New York, wherever that may be. And then I come from the Midwest, small town. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like the traffic as much, but for me, I think the pros outweigh the cons for that as well. And then the last thing that could be a lot of deal killers for a lot of people, and this is, since I told you Sarasota has an older demographic, the restaurants and everything close really early here in Sarasota. This is the one downside of living on the west coast of Florida, is that everything closes sooner, right? So even though if you if you really like that party lifestyle, that nightclub lifestyle and stuff like that, I highly recommend going to the East Coast of Florida. There's a lot of great areas of the East Coast of Florida that offer that nightlife that you're looking for. Because in Sarasota, I'd say things close at like 9 to 9:30 p.m., right? Except the daiquiri deck on Siesta Key. You know, that daiquiri deck is going to stay open longer. But for the most part, a lot of restaurants and everything like that close at like 9, 9:30. So if you are looking for amazing nightlife, I would say Sarasota is not quite there yet. I know they will get there, just not right now. So if you want to wait out for a couple years or whatever that may be, or if you want to, move here now and then, eventually we'll get a good nightlife. But if you want the nightlife like now, right now, then the East Coast of Florida is definitely probably more your style, just because it's a little bit more fast-paced, a little bit more upbeat. Southwest Florida is a little bit more quiet, relaxed, and laid back, right? So that kind of wraps up and sums up the overall pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of living in Sarasota, some of the reasons why I moved to Sarasota, and some of the changes that I've seen over the past couple years, right? So I hope you guys found a ton of value in this video regarding, making the move to Sarasota. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, our team is here to help you. We have a buyer's relocation guide right here. Link is down in the bio down below. You guys can go check that out. It's 100% free. And like I mentioned before, if you guys have any questions as well, put them in the comment section down below. I feel I respond to every single person that's in the comment sections. But thank you guys very much for watching this video, and I look forward to talking with you guys very soon.